DC Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superhero Celebration Issue 1. Obviously, there's a whole host of creators throughout, which we'll get to. I suppose I could just read the table of contents if people want.
Yeah, because I do like that they do this now too.
Yeah,
this is a fairly, I want to say it started with like Action or Detective, those big oversized issues.
It may have even been later. I don't know if it started with them, because I remember it kind of being absent for a bit, and then it kind of kicked in somewhere. But I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, I just remember it's fairly recent because they used to get these big anthologies without these. So I like that they have on there, and I also like that on this one, it didn't give away kind of who the story was about. So I got to get some surprises in here, outside of Masks, which I had heard, because I didn't read this right away on Tuesday, but I had heard some things about that the internet was very excited about. We'll talk about it when we get there. But so outside of knowing that was the Ram V story and who it featured, when it ties into, but the rest of them were all very nice surprises.
Yeah, there's only one where the character names are actually in the title, so otherwise it's fairly thingy. So the first story is called Sounds by Mariko Tamaki with art by Marcus To. Then there's Dress Code. Well, I'm assuming these are vertical lists. Sometimes they can be weird with their order. But Dress Code by Min Lee and art by Chung Lee Win. And then Hawk and Kong, that's the one that's kind of obvious who it's about, by Greg Pak and Sumit Kumar on art. Special Delivery by Anise Adam Ansari with art by Sam Basri. So
I saw that name and I thought it was Aziz Ansari, and I got very excited. I was like, oh man, I didn't realize he was writing comics. And I was like, oh no, that's a different name completely.
It's very different.
But just at the quick glance when I was looking at this table of contents, I was like, his middle name's Adam? That's new to me. Not Aziz.
No. Masks by Ram V, art by Audrey Mock. What's in the Box by Dustin Wynn, both writing and art. Family Dinner by Alyssa Wong with art by Sean Chen. And then we have Kawaii Calamity. Am I saying that right? Is that Kawaii? Is that how you say
Kawaii,
that?
yeah.
Kawaii? I
was gonna say it, so imagine, when back when Omega was in New Japan and you'd hear the girls yelling Kenny with the shrill. That's how I always, hear Kawaii. It goes real high up. Imagine you give it a try.
Then you get Festival of Heroes by Amy Chu with Marcio Takara on the art. Then Perceptible by Pornsak Pichetchoto or Pichetshotti. I'm butchering that one. I apologize.
Yeah, that's a tough name. I think for anybody, we'd have to hear it. I think.
Yeah, I need to know if it's soft or hard, chiz and shiz, before I can even attempt. And Alexandri Tefengi on the art, and that may be slightly wrong, but I feel fairly confident, so I went for it. And then we got The Monkey Prince Hates Superheroes by Junlin Yang with art by Bernard Chang, which is the new Superman team together.
I cannot wait to talk about that story, because talking about New Superman, that felt like an extension.
Yeah, there's actually that one and another one, the Ram V one, are both say at the end to be continued in some form later in the year. Obviously, Ram V's is pretty clearly just going to be in Catwoman, which is, I mean, it even says as much, I think, but it's that's fine. That makes sense. The Monkey Prince one, I don't know whether that's popping up later, maybe. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's get into it. The first story, Sounds, is a Cassandra Kane story, and it largely revolves around one of her core traits, which is the idea that she was trained and learned the language of martial arts and physical combat and body language long before she learned words. And she has one sentence the entire story, which is right at the very end. It's all about her not communicating back to Oracle, as Oracle's telling her that there's this thing to go do, and she rushes off to go help. She talks a lot about, and this is in her narration, of course, not the any speech, but it talks a lot about how this guy's meant to look like a civilian, but his body language, the way he's standing, it tells a story. It's basically screaming to her who he is and what he can do, and it's been able to listen for that rather than words that makes her so good at what she does. So it's really just a nice examination of why Cass is so good as Batgirl.
Tamaki's shown that she has a real good grasp on, I was going to say on the Gotham characters, But now that I think about it, almost every character that Tamaki's written, I think she shows, I might not like the plot and where it goes in some of them, but it's never character. Like, she just gets these characters. So, and Cass is no different. Like, I desperately want Cass to show up in Detective Comics now.
Yeah, Joe, I think what's fun about this story is that it actually works both in current continuity, but also in the actual 2000s Batgirl. Because, I mean, Babs is back as Oracle now, and I don't think there's anything to tell us if this is set back in the original Batgirl days. Because I'd say how quiet she is feels more like 2000s Batgirl.
Yeah, but also she's practicing words. So, there's that, from what we saw in Tynan's tech, with her trying to do it, because the way in the beginning she's framing it as muscle control, which is how she understands language, right? Like, your mouth has to form the letters, and the mouth, is a blend of all these different muscles. But you're right, it could be. Like, they leave it pretty open, but given that Tamaki's writing current, I'm gonna edge it more towards modern.
Yeah, I think it's either what you want it to be. And, I think that works, and I kind of like the idea that it is current, but it actually still kind of harkens back to those days. Because there's no other Bat characters to shop. It's just Oracle and Cass's Batgirl, which is very of that time. So she saves this guy who she clearly is somewhat attracted to, but can't find a way to say anything. He asks her for boba.
Banana boba. Apparently, banana boba is the best. A lot of bees.
I don't know what a boba is.
So boba is this tea that I think it's Vietnamese. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but they're like little tapioca pellets that are in the tea, and they're sweet. I don't like it. It's got a weird texture, So they're kind of globby. But you basically make milk tea in there. But apparently, according to this guy, banana boba is the best. And that line cracked me up just because with Cass, looking at words and trying to make all, the muscles make the sounds with the air, just hitting it with all those bees, and all the alliteration. I thought that added a nice little twist to the story.
Yeah, because I think earlier in the story she's talking about how words are formed with air, but vowels are a certain kind of air, but then to make S's and T's you have to use your lips and your tongue to...
Yeah.
It was like a really in-depth description of how you form words, but it's just the way she thinks about it, because she learned muscles first.
Exactly, and so I like that.
Whereas for us, like, other than maybe walking, one of the first things you learn to do is start to form words and communicate. So that's super interesting. But he invites her, which is a bold move to ask the superhero who just saved you for a drink. But she goes home, takes off her bat outfit, and intentionally runs into him at the boba spot, the boba shop, and he forgets to grab a straw. She runs out after and gives him one, and you think she's not going to say anything, and she just says "You're welcome" and walks away. It's delightful. I will say they are here. I think the faces aren't to my taste, but for the most part, it's not a big deal because, Cass has like a full face mask. So it's only when we're really emphasizing the human faces that I'm not super into the art as much. But I think the actual her in the suit and the flow of all that stuff looks really good. I think.
Yeah, definitely. Because the faces are a little bit void of expression. Like, they're very basic. Like Barbara in hers here, it's just it's a concerned face, but it's nothing major. And then with Cass, it's kind of bare, although you get her expression across. So, but I'm more with you on that side. It feels very manga, where it's kind of simple, and that's how
to be fair, I get why in a book celebrating Asian superheroes there's going to be some manga inspired art. It's just not to my taste as much.
Exactly. It's not. I wouldn't say it's bad. Like, the art's still good. It's
I think the colors are good.
The colors,
colors are good. Yeah.
So, but no, it's very enjoyable. It's I want Cass to pop up in Detective, which I know is asking a lot, because what that book's doing is, Bruce doing his thing right now with zombies and whatnot. But throw in the backup,
Yeah, so yeah, we have this. So I'm assuming, because I've not been reading these young adult graphic novels that they've been putting out. So I'm assuming this is this character that they introduced in that.
Yeah. So they're at the end of this book, they have like character profiles, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
And so that's where I saw this character pop up, and it very much draws his power from his love of his grandma. That's where he gets his will from. So to see that play out over this short story, it's 3 pages.
Yeah, it's a very, very short story.
It drove it home, and then when I read that little blurb in the back, it pulled it together. So
yeah, it's got this is the dress code story by Min Lee. It's basically in the fight with I've forgotten his name.
It looks like Arkillo.
It looks like Arkillo, yeah. Yellow Lantern, and he calls this kid's Green Lantern outfit a dress because it's got the front and the back.
Right.
I don't even know what you call them on their own, but it's like a traditional Asian attire, and
I think it's forgive my pronunciation. I think it's an ao dai, which I'm gonna look this up to see what part it's from.
Go for it. But it flashes back to when someone said this when he was younger with his grandmother in a restaurant, and he made him feel uncomfortable, and his grandmother explains that at first I was told to blend in, but I'd rather stand out and be an individual and be who I am. And it's just kind of like it cuts back to the fight, and he just says, "Thanks, I made it myself." Because of all Green Lanterns make their outfit themselves. It's kind of the thing. So yeah, it's just for being only 3 pages, it's got a really simple point to make, and it makes a simple point, and it's I think it's actually fairly successful in telling a little story in 3 pages, which I don't think most 3-page stories can actually pull off.
No, because it did very much was the spirit of this book coming out with all of the increasing harassment of Asian Americans. And so just to tell the story of someone being proud of that they're different, that, this is their culture they come from. And, I thought that was really cool. And like you said, it's in a 3-page story. It gets to it. It drives that point. And, I really feel where the Green Lantern's coming from. But it's pronounced apparently Ao Zai, and it's Vietnamese. So,
Ao Zai, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, and so I did like that. Just the whole help me stand out from the crowd instead of blending in. And just the whole bullying actions, right? We see Arkillo mimicking what the bully said to the younger, when he was younger, But yeah, I like that story a lot.
Yeah, there's not much to add about it. It's really simple and straightforward, but it gets its point across. So there we've gone to the Hawk and Kong story, which is Connor Hawk running in. Now, I'm sure Matt might have got excited for a second thinking it was going to be Connor Hawk versus King Kong, but
no, but I'm just as excited because I miss this character so much.
Yes, new Superman. It's been a while, makes an appearance, and Connor Hawk is basically kind of pissed because new Superman is doing a lot of the saving, stealing a lot of the glory. Taking care of it. And Connor Hawk was out grabbing food for a family dinner, and it ends up getting destroyed in all the chaos. It's a big mech dragon as well. That
it's super cool. I miss Greg Pak writing superhero stuff. Like I know he's working on his own stuff, but like I miss him over here in DC doing stuff like this. I think he's the one that introduced Keenan back before Rebirth started, because there was that one issue that drove up in sales. I think it was like Superman 50 that introduced. So it was cool that he's coming back and working on that character.
Did he do a shit Superman?
Yeah, so it wasn't New Superman yet. It was they'd introduced the idea that there was another Superman in China.
No, I mean because he had a run on Action. I'm saying, did he do an issue of Superman? Because you said Superman.
Well, yeah. Okay, maybe it was Action.
Okay, that's what I'm clarifying. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I think Greg Pak. Let me. I could be talking out of turn.
Yeah, because he had like I don't know, it was like 3 trades worth of a run on Action Comics.
Yeah.
On New 52.
Yeah, but no. So seeing him here and just the counter with Connor Hawk, they play off of each other so well. I recently started reading Kevin Smith's Green Arrow, just because it's been in my blind spot. It's very Kevin Smith, and I can't read more than a couple pages at a time because I feel like Connor reading Bendis. Like it's just a lot. However, he has the voices down, but it's just a lot. But seeing Connor there and then here, it's pretty cool. But yeah, and so the kimchi gets destroyed, and Keenan says that it's like a Chinese dish, which I'm looking for the name of it. Pao, I'm probably saying all these wrong. Pao Kai. And so, Connor's upset, shows up to a family dinner, empty-handed. And then there's a ring at the doorbell, and it's Keenan with, he flew to China to get the Pao Kai, even though that's not what it was. But it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, and he replaced it with something he likes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He replaced it with something he likes.
Yeah, it's what he knew, right? He thought the kimchi was this other dish. So he goes and gets it. And then Connor is standing in the door going, okay, thanks, bye. And his mom and aunt are like, no, wait, like, invite him in. He did something nice. And it made me realize reading this, and then later when we get to the Red Arrow story, that when you look at Green Arrow supporting cast, it's very multicultural. You have Connor Hawke, you have Emmy, right? And then and those are direct relatives to Ollie. You have Roy Harper and his background. I don't know if it's still canon. He was raised by Native Americans, right? And then he hooked up with Cheshire, and back before Rebirth, they had a kid, And it just made me think about how, like, up until New 52, Green Arrow was really inclusive, and it fit that character so well. And you kind of look now, and I'm glad that this book came out when it did, because it reminded me of that.
Well, I think it's a good point. Maybe my favorite art of the book so far, I would say.
Yep. It's Kumar, and we've really enjoyed his work thus far. From Mambat, and now, what's the other book that he recently worked on that we were fans of? It was
Jeez, I don't know.
It was in one of the anthologies, but it's been solid. Does the action really well here, and then, like, I'm not so much a fan of some of the faces, right? We've said that about, but here the exaggeration works. So, like, when the kimchi gets destroyed, and Connor has this big hanging jaw, it's almost grotesque, but it still works because his whole thing was to get this kimchi back to home for dinner. So yeah, it gets a little bit cartoony in parts, but it still works. I mean, that's my only real gripe with the art.
Yeah. There's a pen up next by Jay Lee, of Raz Talia, and Batman too. Which is very nice. And then we're on to the Damien story, which is Special Delivery.
Yeah.
And Bruce is Bruce, saying he's got emails to do. He'll deal with the case of hand. There's people taking out pizza delivery guys in Gotham, and they all come from one place. But Damien, not wanting to wait to act, decides to investigate on his own. And does the whole thing where, there's a panel in here where he's like, I carry my mother's ruthlessness, the cruel ambition of my grandfather, and even the compassion of my adopted brothers and sisters. And it sort of shows you all the different aspects that go into the making of his character. It turns out, this made me laugh, actually, that so the League of Assassins have been running this pizza place, and they wanted to kill all the delivery drivers, and they were going to poison them, but their shipment of poison got delayed, so they just came up with a different plan to start murdering them. That really made me laugh for some reason.
Definitely not what I was expecting, right? No. Like, not the pizza. So that was a nice little twist. I also like the payoff for where Damien's talking about, he carries his mother's ruthlessness and all that, and it says, I'm more vicious than my mother, more cruel than my grandfather, more cunning than my brothers and sisters, and of course smarter than my father. And I was like, that's Damien. Like, that's, of course he has to be like, yes, I'm proud of who I am, but I'm better than them.
Yeah, It's
I
pretty
like that.
solid. I actually, I'd probably update this for saying this is now my best favorite art of the book so far. But
Oh wow.
I think what's funny about an anthology like this is that so many of the stories end up being just kind of like, here's who this character is, because that's what you can do in 5 pages, whatever it may be. And I think for the Green Lantern story, because we've not really encountered that character, it was a very interesting. It was like, oh, because we're discovering who this character is, and it is actually a very good snapshot to get a point across of who they are, what's important to them, and all that. With Damien, it's a little bit less effective because it's like, well, we know Damien, we know Damien very well. It's more just reaffirming who he is. So it's almost, it feels less important as a story, but it's well told in what it's doing. So
yeah, I mean, and in an anthology, you kind of need these smaller ones, right? Like that just come in and allow us to enjoy that character, you know?
Yeah. So then we go on to the Ram V story with Audrey Mocha and art. This is the new Cheshire, basically. Or
Help me figure this out. So we saw Cheshire Cat in Future State, right? And it was a big, like, who is this? Like, because Ram V was like really going out of their way to point out that there was a character called Cheshire Cat. And then I think he had mentioned, like, on Twitter, we know who this character is, and you can put it together. So just the fact that there was this mystery on who Cheshire Cat is, and it was staring me in the face the whole time. However, who it ends up being, there's so many more questions. And I love him for this. This is the type of stuff why I love DC continuity, like just to see someone come in and go, oh, well, this character was gone, but how can I bring them back? And why are they important to the story? And like just how this character fits in with Catwoman. I love it.
Yeah. It being kind of a crossover between Cheshire and Catwoman is an interesting touch, because obviously Cheshire is a cat. So you have kind of a thematic connection there. It's funny because the start of this reminded me a lot, bizarrely, of the Super Mario Brothers movie, because Cheshire leaves her, to be an orphan on a doorstep. It just gave me vibes of that. Yeah. But no, we see her. She's one of the alley kids in Alley Town, and she's under Catwoman's sort of,
tutelage.
Tutelage, there you go. That's a good word. Yeah. But she's got a mask now. She's got herself a Cheshire mask. And she goes after some bad guys, some thugs on her own, and beats them up. Kind of as an amateur vigilante, and seems very proud of that. Catwoman shows up to help though. And ultimately they end up on the rooftop at the end, sort of bonding. And I really love where Selina says, "Well, I've got a friend who would probably say this." I love that the speech bubble has bat ears when she's sort of doing the Batman voice. I thought that was a really, really nice because it wouldn't work in other contexts. I mean, I suppose, does anyone ever do a Bat impression if it's not meant to be funny? But she is making fun of him, kind of, here. Yeah. She's mocking him a little bit.
To me, I read that in the Christian Bale voice, right? Like, that's what those pointy ears mean, Yeah, and man, I never thought I would love Catwoman as much as I do now. It's just one of those times where, in the right hands, the characters just really come alive. It's what we've also said about, like, Tom Taylor doing Red Hood, right? We're like, I can't believe Taylor's done this. And not that like Catwoman and Red Hood are on the same, but I've been kind of agnostic towards Selina. Like, she's fine, from the stuff I read her in. But here, just like her turning and basically breaking the fourth wall, right? We know she's looking at Cheshire Cat or Shoes, but she's looking at us too, breaking that fourth wall doing the Batman voice. And in case you had any mystery of it, they put the ears on the speech bubble, in case you couldn't put it together. It's real nice. So can we talk about who Shoes really is?
Go on.
So back before Flashpoint, Roy Harper and Cheshire were, they had hooked up and had a kid. And Cheshire, being the terrible assassin she is, left this baby with Roy Harper. So he was single dad superhero. And it was one of his defining characteristics for the longest time. And then I want to say mid 2000s in Cry for Justice, Prometheus blows up a big chunk of Star City, and Leon, who is the daughter of Cheshire and Roy Harper, is caught in the blast and she dies. And it leads to, Roy Harper going back in and falling back in with his demons, with drug abuse and all of this. And it was something that had really rocked the character. Yet now, Ram V's coming in and retconning it, that it seems like somehow Leon has survived and she's been raised in Alleytown. And now she's one of Selena's orphans. She goes by the name Shoes. So do we think that Selena knows who she is? I mean, there's so many questions. Does this mean that does Cheshire know she's still around? Well, how is this going to play in with Roy Harper? Because we know that Williamson has something with him planned from Infinite Frontier. Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of stuff, which people might say that this is kind of cheap because, she had died and that was the thing that had pushed Roy Harper to be, part of his story. And you wouldn't say that she was fridged because the death really meant it really was this. It wasn't just her shock value. It was this big beat. So to kind of undo that and not put her here.
And it's just on that, on that point, the dream she has, because the flashback, as it were, is she talks about it like it's a dream. Yeah. When Cheshire picks her up, it's not like she's dropping her off as a baby. She finds her unconscious and there's smoke around, and then she drops her off as an orphan when she's already whatever age she is here in this flashback. It's hard to tell. Maybe, I don't know, 6, maybe 5.
I would say not a toddler, but not maybe kindergarten age, right? 5, 6.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so this dream is is this the explosion? So yeah, because she says goodbye, Lotus, be safe. So yeah.
I mean, they'll probably get to stuff like that down the line. I don't think it's going to be a concern super quick, mainly because I feel like they're going to want to build her as her own character now that she's old enough to actually have her own sort of journey and process and all that. And Catwoman's advice at the end is sometimes these masks just let us be who we actually are rather than hiding who we are. And that's kind of interesting. Now, don't get me wrong, it would be a really weird missed opportunity if at some point down the line there's not some sort of reunion or discovery between the characters. I would say that Cheshire definitely knows.
Okay, so there we go, because I missed that. Not that I missed it, but I just heard dropping her off that way. I didn't connect it because again, cramming 100-page plus everything else, you tend to read. I mean,
assuming we can take this stream as fact, which right now I have no reason not to. It does seem like she knew she survived, and for whatever reason didn't give her back to Roy. Didn't see that as the right path, and did this instead. So there's a lot of stuff in there to explore at some point or unpack at some point. And then maybe that'll be in Infinite Frontier. Maybe that's where it'll all happen. But it seems like here she's going to be a primary supporting character in Catwoman, which it hasn't even really done. I mean, maybe has she been in the main book yet? I mean, she's obviously in the Future State stuff with the mask, but Shoes has not been super prominent in the main book as of yet.
If I remember right, it's only really she's been mentioned.
Yeah,
there's a character named Shoes, and that's why when people are asking about Cheshire Cat, I just remember him on Twitter saying this is a character that we're kind of familiar with, but So,
I think she's around maybe when we first get introduced to all the kids. She's around in some of those scenes, but I don't remember her having a prominent story.
Just the idea almost of her I know this is not Selena's Robin, right? But just the idea that she's almost picked up this from Bruce, gathering these souls to help them along their way, and it just happens to be, the daughter of Roy Harper and Cheshire, however we're pronouncing it. I go back and forth, but I just think that's really cool. It's just it builds that interconnectivity that I love in comics. You don't have to read everything, but again, just the fact now this connects the Green Arrow worlds and the Batman world, and it's just it's this big community of heroes. Man, Ramvy's killing it.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing, Catwoman, still waiting for my Savage Shores. So those are it's still delayed for whatever reason. It's been a month and a half. Should have ordered it on Amazon.
No, this is neat. And I really do appreciate there's a couple of stories in here that actually have some knock-on effect for things going forward, and this gives us something to be excited about. It's not just a standalone story; it's got some relevance in the larger scheme of things. But yeah, maybe she will kind of become a Robin in a weird way. This will be her version of whatever that is. So, still a cat though. They couldn't think of like a subcategory of
no.
Of cat.
You don't want to call them her kittens, but you could.
I suppose you could. Maybe just take a page out of the Leo DiCaprio page and call them the Pussy Squad.
Oh boy.
No.
No, I wouldn't.
Nah, probably not. Probably for the best. Yes. If anyone's not aware of what I'm referencing here, this is a thing. Go look up Leonardo DiCaprio, and I think Tobey Maguire and some others were in a group that was wrestling had the Clique, Hollywood had the Pussy Squad. And if Molly Bloom can be believed from Molly's game, they weren't exactly the nicest. So kind of like the Clique. What do you think about it? Yes. No, very good, very good. So very good. Moving on then to another very quick cast story. Right. Do you know who this other character is? Because I have no idea.
Nope. Not a clue. I was like, is this supposed to be Clayface? Because we know how close Cass and Clayface became in the pages of Detective Comics. But I have no idea because when they say hey man, people call me a monster all the time. That's all I could think of. But why does he take the form of a little redheaded child?
Yeah, that confused me. I didn't get the form that he was taking. I get that he's maybe wants to sit there and be more human with her, but I don't know why it wouldn't just be Basil Carlo form. Yeah,
because as far as I know, Basil Carlo's not a little redheaded child. No. But I guess Clayface can be who you want. But I don't know who this is supposed to be. I feel like I should.
Well, because it says Monday meeting, and if Clayface, I guess, makes sense if you think about it being set during the detective time. Although she's not wearing that outfit, she's got a bat logo on her. So I don't know. But the idea is that there was a bat meeting of some kind, and Damien might have said something mean to her like last time. Yeah. So she didn't show up, and then he's like, "What's in the box?" And it's food, and then that's the end of the story. So it's very short. It's very, very short. I don't know what to make of this one, to be honest.
No, me neither. And I loved Wynn's art. Like, that's some of my favorite. So I was a little bit disappointed just because, like, this kind of felt like filler, Like, I don't know.
I don't think it helps that we already had such a great cast story early on in the book.
Yeah. So I'm looking it up because I typed in, Dustin Wynn and the story. Apparently, this character's name is Abuse, who first appeared in Detective Comics 947. Abuse finds Batgirl sitting by a bridge, upset at a comment made by Damien. So, sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna find out who this character is and why.
I mean, that's
do they have a relation with Cass? Like,
that's an issue that we did on the show. That's post the start of Rebirth, I'm sure.
No, that's from 2008.
Oh, is it? Okay. In that case, really? What number did you say?
What it says here. I gotta go back. I might have flipped the numbers because I was reading fast.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say because you said like 9.
Yeah, hold on. My computer's being stupid. There we go. Dress code, no mask. No, What's in the box? There it is. Yeah, 947. It says October 2008.
But Detective didn't hit 900 until the New 52.
I know. So unless they hit 2018 and they made a mistake, I I don't remember ever meeting this character before.
The reason why I remember that is because they made a whole big deal about it. Could remember the 900? There was like a group called the 900 in that special issue in the New 52.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. So first appeared in Batman Streets of Gotham.
Okay.
So that's definitely not. So they made a mistake. Somebody needs to go edit that page.
Which I have read that, but clearly this character is faded from my memory over time.
Unknown protector of abused children. He is known to the current Batman, but is claimed to have a run-in with the original by telling Grayson that he didn't expect Batman to remember all his little helpers. Something to do with Zaz. Yeah. So apparently he's a protector. He has 2 appearances in Detective, but he came from Streets of Gotham, and that was back then. So I think they just mixed their numbers up.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay.
But yeah, he looks like a big, looks like, I would say like when the Thing wears a trench coat.
Yeah.
That's kind of his vibe.
But he shrinks into a
little guy.
A wee ginger.
So, yeah, so I mean, I guess because Wynn maybe had a hand in creating this character, maybe that's why he decided to use him. But I do like the sentiment of it. It's this guy coming to sit with her, and comfort her, which is nice. Yeah. Created by Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen. So there we go.
That's why Dustin Nguyen used him then, because he was there when he was created. Next up is the Grace Choi story with Thunder and Black Lightning, and I was a bit mixed on this one. I don't know how you felt.
So I liked the sentiment of it because I missed this pairing. I loved when I read Outsiders. I loved Grace and Thunder. Grace just as a character was fantastic because she had this mystery to her. It wasn't really revealed. She was a Bana Migdal Amazon, and she was just this big, strong bouncer lady. And shocker, I like that vibe. Punch first, ask questions later. And then she had a whole relationship with Black Lightning's daughter, and it was like this nice character dynamic. However, some of the dialogue in this is real rough, and like part of the story kind of rough. But I'm gonna just take what I can and be happy if this is a reintroduction to Grace and Lightning and Thunder back into DC, especially with what they're doing with Black Lightning and Outsiders.
Yeah, I think for me it was because the whole premise of this is that Thunder's taking Grace Choi to like family dinner to meet Black Lightning and her sister, and it's I feel like because of the sentiment they wanted to get across, which I agree is a nice sentiment, but they had to they had to make Jefferson just be kind of a dick. Just to make it work, so the story could happen. He had to be, I don't like my daughter hanging around with the likes of you. You put her in dangerous situations and blah, 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 Yeah,
except they're superheroes and you should have accepted this by now, Pops.
Yeah.
You do it every day.
She already puts on an outfit and goes and, acts as Thunder. Like, this is a very...
Now, if it was like, being that he's a principal, right, and a little old-fashioned, he's like, I don't like the fact that you're covered in tattoos. Like something along those lines. But the whole you put her in danger. No, she puts herself in danger every day. We all do this. We're a superhero family. It was just a little bit weird. But I did like Mammoth and Shimmer showing up and, them basically teaming up to take them out.
Also, the bit where he complains that she's eating sushi with her hands. Yeah. I thought was a bit, it felt forced. It was like, wait, why is he complaining about that?
Well, yeah, and he goes, you eat onigiri with your hands, and so, but yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'm just a sucker for the disapproving parent that gets one over, that might just be me bringing my own personal stuff into it, but, it was like you said, it was hit or miss, but I did, I like seeing Grace back. So I hope this is not the only time we get to see her, especially with what we'll get to. I forget from the Outsiders. There's some unfinished business in the pages of Urban Legends. Yeah. Maybe we'll see her show up there. I don't know.
So yeah, a bit mixed on that one. Another pin up next by Guri Hiru. Yeah. With a variety of characters.
Yeah, it seems like they're all the Asian characters, which of course, which I forget that
it's not all the Asian characters.
No, but the Titans, because I was like, wait,
Sure.
what is I forget that Jay and Irie are Linda's Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I was like, oh, it's the Teen Titans, and then I started looking who it is, and I was like, oh yeah, dummy, what book are you reading? I just saw a Kid Flash there, and and then you have Eugene. Is that supposed to be Takitani down there at the bottom?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know how else it would be. So.
Gotcha. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, cool. And then we have the Emmy story. Which kind of falls into almost what the Green Lantern story was a little bit. The idea of not being ashamed of your own culture, heritage, whatever. Because Emmy is having a nightmare where, and I will say, the art was a little off-putting to me here because it was her fighting like big, cute, like Japanese cartoon, style creatures,
anime.
Yeah,
and as we know, both of us are the ones that
I know.
So, but we love Emmy, so we will struggle through stuff we don't like.
Yeah,
for Emmy Queen.
Yes, so don't like anime, but we'll put up with it. Emmy, so that was terrible. I'm sorry.
Hold on, Emmy, anime, and no, yeah.
You're going to end up saying enema, so stop it.
Yeah, exactly. So I stopped with an enemy.
Yeah. So, and then, Emmy says, I hate this cute shit because everyone calls me cute and I hate it. And it's sort of, you're supposed to like cute things because you're Asian. And, the animal creature looks sad but that's based on what other people say. What that's not based on what you actually like or dislike or anything. And then it shows her a sort of cute version of her cuddling with a cute, a cute version of that.
With that thing, whatever that was, the kawaii Momo-chan. There we go.
Yeah, and she wakes up and she does have a little stuffed version of this and hugs it, and that's the end of the story. So, yeah. I mean, it's sweet enough.
Yeah. Again, more Emmy, please. Just hook it into my veins. Again, another Green Arrow character that I love and can't explain outside of, I just enjoy their vibe. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Then we have Philip Tan and Sebastian Chang pinup.
Karate Kid from Legion of Superheroes. Getting very much Enter the Dragon.
Joe, I'm very glad you knew who this was because I had no idea.
Come on. Of course I know who it is.
I mean, is anyone surprised that I didn't know who the Legion character was?
No, not at all. But this is very nice. I do love. If Karate Kid was in my favorite Legionnaires, I would definitely,
I think my reaction to this was, who's this Street Fighter looking asshole? Like that was my.
Isn't it Iron Fist? His collar is too high.
So then we have Festival of Heroes by Amy Chu and Marcio Takara. This is Katana with Cyborg and Blue Beetle along for the trip, and there's basically a festival. I mean, it's literally just like almost a literal version of what the book is. It's a Comic-Con of celebration of
it's a heritage festival. That's right there. It's the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Festival. And it's in New York City, and of course you have some jerks that are being overtly racist, and the heroes are gonna have to put a stop to them. I love the sentiment of the story. I just wish the execution was more of a scalpel than a sledgehammer. However, the fact that this story has to be told is why we can't do it with a scalpel and instead have to do it with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you've got the slice of life moments where they're running into cosplayers that they recognize and arguing over food because Cyborg's got the last
Rhodey. What is it? A Rhodey wrap?
Yes. Yeah. I never heard of a single bit of food that was mentioned in this story.
You know what a spring roll is.
Okay. I take it back.
Yes,
I know spring rolls.
Chinese, but I know you know what a spring roll is.
But there was many other things mentioned here that I have never heard of, which is presumably because there's not only is there more in-depth cuisine here that I've not encountered, but probably just a lot of other culture cuisines that I've never even had a chance to encounter.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget they are in New York. New York's kind of a melting pot. Different cultures. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, because early on we're talking about Vietnamese food. I've never had Vietnamese food or had the option of even looking at Vietnamese food. So, but yeah, so they're there to help protect things. And part of the story as well is about other cultures being there to help out, which is kind of what Blue Beetle and Cyborg represent, because they're both people of color, but they're both people of color of different cultures. So you've got that there. You've got these assholes with the masks and who are what to cause chaos. It turns out they've actually got a stone that's given them superpowers, so it's actually more of a fight when it does break out eventually. But Katana slices the thing in half, and then all the actual the senior citizens start throwing fly kicks and stuff.
Respect your elders. I love it. Anytime I can see a racist get beat up, I'm fine with it. Like.
Yeah. I kind of want to see more with the guy with the walker in the background.
Yeah.
I want to see him with the walker hitting people with it. But yeah, and that's basically it. Some of the Justice League. Although interestingly, it's Nubia and not Wonder Woman who shows up with Batman and Superman at the end.
If you're reading Wonder Woman, you'll know that she's stuck in the realm of the dead. So she's. Of course, Nubia's going to come in.
That story didn't necessarily have to be in continuity.
No, but I'm kind of glad that it was, because it also, again, there's some stuff in here that's heavy-handed, but not in the heavy-handed where I rolled my eyes. It was heavy-handed where I just wish there was a more nuanced way to say some of these things. However, I can't find a more nuanced way to say things, so I feel weird criticizing it. But like the lady in the beginning, where the sentiment is these jerks are, they're like the Knights of Brotherhood or whatever, basically tell her to go back where she came from. And she's like, my family's been here since like 1890s or 1860 something. I'm born and raised in Seattle. And just the fact, like, we have to bring account to that because it's 2021 and that's still sentiment from terrible people, or, what was the other one in here? There's a thing that, that Blue Beetle says about how he's El Paso Mexican, so he gets the two different cultures and stuff like that. And just having to point out that, like, everyone comes from somewhere, and I just feel like in 2021, we should be able to do better. But the fact that DC's taking time out to tell these stories and, the Festival of Heroes, it's just disappointing, that society's at that point. But overall, it's a fun story, I
mean, comic books have, for the longest time, since the creation of, in part, been here to tell stories like this, and no, I mean, not always for the better. I mean, there's some stuff from during wartime that were straight up propaganda. So
I mean, just the main villain of Detective Comics is a Asian stereotype, from back then, that's who Slam Bradley was showing up to fight.
But I mean,
the fact that we've come so far.
But there's that famous panel from like I think it's like the 50s, but it's like it's Superman talking about racism or saying anyone who does this isn't a real American anyway, or and there's like stuff like that, and it's like, so even from like a very early period, the idea of having encouraging messaging in the books is important. So, again.
It's not Amy Chu's fault that she has to tell the story, or she felt like she needed to tell the story, and that's what I'm more disappointed by. It's more of a societal issue than what happened here. I'm just glad that it ended up being a fun story that you can poke fun at the racists, because they're going after people for the stupidest reasons, and it's just like love your fellow American, love your fellow human. But hey, I like seeing Cyborg do stuff that's not teleport people around. So that's a win.
I mean, Blue Beetle and Cyborg mostly argue over food in this story.
That's fine. Fine by me.
Mostly argue over food. There's a pin-up by Francis Manapul. It is the current Swamp Thing. So nice to see that character getting a little representation in the book. And then we have a Kevin Wada pin-up.
That's Shiva.
Very, very pretty. Jen Bartel pin-up with Cheshire. So
Yeah,
I don't know why they put like a bunch of pinups back to back here when they've been kind of spread out up until now, but whatever. I mean, I'm not organizing the book. Then we got our Ryan Choi story, where he's in someone's body, fighting off a virus that's been sent back through time. Which they overcomplicated this a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure this team that he's talking about from the future, that the Justice League of the future are working with the present day heroes to deal with. But essentially, something was sent back through time so that eventually the right descendant would just, get sick and die effectively. So Ryan Choi's in there fighting off these things, but his belt gets damaged, so he has to try and grab the last parasite quickly. And sort of like jumps out the body as his helmet's cracking. And like flies out the guy's nose. It's kind of a it's an interesting visual if nothing else. So, and it ends with him taking Bruce to, the person that he just saved. There's someone who works 80 hours a week, 3 different jobs just to make ends meet, and basically explains that there's a lot of people who do this, but no one seems to notice. Not everyone seems to just kind of let people blend into the background.
Yep.
And Bruce is like, okay, how do I help? I'm a billionaire, and you have got the brain to help, start working on this. So what do we do? And that's just kind of, that's a sentiment about working together again. So, I probably enjoyed this one. I mean, a little bit less, just because I thought the story itself was a bit weird, and unfulfilling. I do like where it goes though, with Choi telling Bruce Wayne what he does. It's like, because you think at the beginning that they're saving like a superhero, right? Like it's gonna be someone that we know, and then when it turns out that it's this dude with 3 jobs, and eventually he's important in the future, which is the point in a lot of ways. I think it's because we keep saying that even when we don't necessarily love the stories, the sentiment's always on point, and I think it'd be weird to find a story in here that doesn't have a good sentiment, because it's kind of the point of the book in a lot of ways. But that's the best part. No, you're right. It turns out not to be someone important right now. It's someone who is either going to be important themselves later, or someone that is a descendant of them is going to be important down the line. Right. And therefore everyone's important, because no one knows who is going to give birth or have a grandkid or a great grandkid who is going to end up saving the world. Therefore everyone's important, as so. Right.
And you don't know their stories, and you can't just look over them. You just gotta treat everybody with respect. Real quick, this writer, Pornsak Pashashot, he's a Thai American. He was an editor for Vertigo, and he worked on like Day Tripper, The Unwritten, Sweet Tooth, Unknown Soldier. He's an executive at DC Entertainment, so they pulled from their own stable here. He has an independent book out through Image called The Good Asian now that I feel like I want to check out. So that's also what's cool about these anthologies, is that it gets eyes on for me, new creators. I can check out their other works.
There's a pinup by Jim Chung with Romello Ferrado Jr. And this is another sort of team one where there's just a lot of various DC Asian characters being represented. All from New Superman to Emmy to Katana to Cass, so on, so on. So
Cheshire, Omak. Apparently Omak's Asian. I didn't realize this.
That's news to me. That said, one of the cosplayers in the previous story, the festival, were cosplaying as Omak. So I guess I didn't know Omak was Asian either. But there you go. And then we get to, which I think is the final story here, the Monkey Prince story. Which when I got to it, I didn't read the titles at the start, so I didn't read what the title was. So I got to this Shazam story, and I was like, "Who's Asian here? What's going on? Where's the Asian character?"
Wait, Savannah? Maybe it's a stretch. I thought it was going to go Eugene, because again, like you said, I wasn't looking at the titles, and I was like, okay, well, Eugene's Asian, so maybe this is how Eugene comes in and saves Billy.
I think the hench people might be Asian, but I thought that's a bit of a stretch, unless they become kind of the focal point of the story. That's a bit
they save the day, just being random scientists that are like, Savannah's gone off the
But
off
I
the
mean,
rails.
you could do that. You could sort of turn it into being about these characters who seem like red shirts at first, but then become important.
Right.
Like that was a possibility, but instead, obviously the twist is that this isn't really Shazam that's been captured by Savannah. Savannah's actually been infected. Cause, yeah, there's a weird moment here where Savannah says he's going to cook Shazam's heart and eat it when it's tender, and it's like, you know what? For all the weird shit Savannah has been up to that I've read or seen over the years, I never thought of him as a straight up cannibal. This feels a bit over the top. But that turns out to be the point, because he's actually infected with a demon, effectively, something from mythology. And it turns out that Shazam is actually the Monkey Prince in disguise, and we get this new character. This is a Gene Luen Yang story, and it does say at the end that this is going to continue in some form later this year. So a miniseries, I expect, for Monkey Prince, perhaps, but he does not like superheroes. He does not like when the real Shazam shows up to help. There's a lot of conflict between them. Savannah's very all over the place. Also, his mentor character, Shifu, who's a pig-like entity. He shows up and he's trying to give him help. So, I mean, I don't know a lot about this character. This was mostly a discovery for me. This stuff.
So I know about the Monkey King as a legendary figure from I like to read up on mythologies. However, the Monkey Prince being like, that's not my dad. Sure, DNA, whatever. So I like the fact that it's not just Yang doing his version of the Monkey King. It's what I loved Yang doing is taking a piece of Asian folklore or storytelling and turning it into superhero stuff.
Yeah. So there's a lot of action here. At one point, the evil spirit, tries to bite off Shazam's head. Which,
and it's a deer spirit, which shows how twisted this has become. It's
a hell of a visual. But there's a lot of fun bickering between Monkey Prince and
everyone.
Shazam. And everyone, really, it's a good point. But the end of the story is kind of interesting, because we find out that this is a young character, and they kind of reveal at the end is that I mean, is it just me? Does it reveal here that his parents are the hench people? Yep, that's what they're saying. So we have that, but then we also have the reveal that he goes to school with Billy. So they're actually friends in school, but he hates Shazam. So I almost think that we're going to get a Monkey Prince Shazam miniseries later in the year, but given all the setup at the end. But yeah, it just says at the end, the adventures of the Monkey Prince continue later this year. Although given that they've set up Shazam, Billy going to school with them, it feels like he's going to be a supporting character in it still as well.
Right.
So.
No, and if this is Yang doing Shazam with the Monkey Prince, or the Monkey Prince for doing Shazam, I'm here for it. I miss that book, the New Superman, so much. And what Yang was doing with doing his own twist on different heroes and what those versions are, and like the Monkey Prince feels like the next step in that, right? Because this is him adapting the Monkey King legend stuff. And what does that mean? How he hates superheroes, yet he's friends with Billy Batson. Like it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to continue that. And the profiles at the back, it's worth mentioning there's some in there that didn't really appear in the book in any great capacity. It throws in Clown Hunter, of course. There's
Dr. Light.
Dr. Light, Element Woman's there. Gold Lantern is there. So a whole bunch of other characters there. I'm just sort of skimming through to see if there's any other ones that didn't pop up in the book. Tracy 13. Tracy 13 was actually on the cover, or was in like the pinup of.
It was in a pinup that we didn't talk about with Connor Hawke, done by. Is it Philip Tan?
Do you know why that confused? I think the reason why I skipped over that is because it comes right before the Connor Hawke story. So I looked at that as the cover to the Connor Hawke story.
Yeah.
And it's just occurring to me now that she never appeared in it, which.
It's the Cliff Chang. One, and it's a gorgeous, like, I love it. So.
Yeah. No, really, really cool stuff. It's, these anthologies are always a mixed bag. There's no way around that. Not every story is like a great story on its own. But the sentiments are obviously very well thought out throughout the book. And the cause behind it and the reason for its existence are very admirable. Also, the last page of the book is a sort of a really sort of cinematic tease of the Monkey Prince.
Yeah.
So again, to kind of maybe imply that there's going to be bigger things coming for that character in the future. It's weird to rate a book like this, but I mean, we can try.
Yeah, here's the thing. There's way more I enjoyed, and the stuff that I didn't enjoy, still pretty, like, I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. It's like the Dustin Nguyen story.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's just kind of there. But the art looked great because it's Dustin Nguyen, But yeah, there's way more to like in here than there's to dislike. So, on a pass or fail kind of rating, I give it a thumbs up and, let people, like, you should read this,
Well, that's all nice and Matt, but we don't do the thumbs up, thumbs down. We do an out of 10. So you're going to have to.
I thought I would get you to move and go. Yeah, for something like this, that's what we should do. But Curse is foiled again. I'm going to give this an 8, just because again, there's way more to like than there's to not like, and I got to see some of my favorite characters again, like Grace Choi, Emmy, plus meeting a new one that I see that I'm gonna like with the Monkey Prince.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
It's always tough to rate these anyway, even when they're not like for such a good cause and reason. But I think looking the ones that actually have relevance are the ones that are most exciting. I think the Cheshire Cat and
that's another one.
The Monkey Prince stuff is definitely the ones that stuck out to me the most. But obviously, I love to get a bit more Cass. I enjoyed seeing Kenan Kong again. I think I'm going to nudge just a little bit below and go 7.5. But
okay.
But it's very up and down. There's a few stories that are maybe a little bit just kind of the sentiment and nothing more. There's maybe one or two that are a bit more in your face or lack the story to kind of back up the thing. But generally speaking, though, you're not going to have an unpleasant time going through it and sort of getting a showcase of a lot of characters, many of which don't get as much time as these days. I think I feel much more negative on the Grace Choi story than you do, and I think that's maybe what's knocking it down that half point.
Maybe. So I'm looking up Monkey King stuff, and there's that book that gets brought up every once in a while that's through Rooster Teeth in DC, Ruby.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, that's a take on the Legend of the Monkey King and Journey into the West, which is where Monkey King comes from.
All right. Do not for the life of, please do not tell me that book is going to become relevant and therefore.
I don't think so, because it just says it has a character named Sun Wukong who is inspired by his namesake from Journey into the West. It currently has 7 aired seasons. To reference the mythical Sun Wukong here is a monkey faunus, which is a human with animal attributes. Uses a staff in combat, though his splits into nunchucks and shotgun hybrid weapons. That's kind of cool. And can generate clones to fight for him, which I guess is a Monkey King thing. So maybe that's Monkey Prince as a clone. Maybe that's where that's going. But yeah. Because of course I have to know where this is coming from. But also American-born Chinese, which is the Jin Lun Yang, that was his creator-owned, almost autobiography, features the legend of the Monkey King throughout the book. He uses the story of the Monkey King's quest to become equal to a god to parallel his feelings of the main character, a Chinese immigrant who's struggling to fit into American society. So this clearly is a passion for Yang. And I am glad that DC is I don't want to say letting him do it, but offering a place for him to tell this story finally.
I mean, no doubt he had to pitch whatever he's doing. No doubt he had to sort of convince them there was a story worth telling. So we shall see. We shall see.